Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the interview session for the 4th edition of our PSP e-newsletter. Today, we have the honor of hosting Dr. Michele Stallone, the regional coordinator of the program. Welcome, Dr. Stallone.
Welcome to you, Vidor.
Well, our discussion will revolve around the critical aspects of maritime security, the impact of the PSP program, regional collaboration, information sharing, expansion strategies, future goals, and international partnerships. Our conversation also promises to be enlightening and informative, shedding light on vital topics in this region. Thank you for joining us today, and without further delay, let's begin this insightful discussion. Dr. Stallone, well, can you explain why maritime security is so crucial in the beneficiary countries, considering the substantial funding allocated to the PSP program?
Thank you. Thank you once again. It's a common understanding that 90% of the worldwide economy goes by sea. What does it mean? It means that the maritime transport sector and the maritime domain plays an important role. The consequences of these transport and the goods being moved in a safely manner will allow the economies of the countries to grow up, the wealth of the citizen to be increased, and any other activities which is related on the and has an impact on the economy. So this is why maritime security is key, because you cannot have any economic development using the sea without having in place a proper maritime security asset and governance.
Sure. So you were talking about safety security, but how do the maritime vulnerabilities in the region impact economic development and international trade? So can you please elaborate a bit?
Absolutely, yes. If you think that the ocean and our seas are exposed to continuous threats, because vessels may have some problem at sea, and then think about what has happened, unfortunately, in Mauritius years back with the oil spill pollution of the Wakasho. But at the same time, the marine environment is continuously exposed to threats, and think about the management of the waste which is produced on board of vessels. Think about the plastic, lot of plastic which is found on our beaches, not only in Mauritius, but all over. So it is important that those vulnerabilities are addressed, and at the same time there is more awareness towards the coastal communities, because it has an impact on the economic development of the coastal communities. Could be the coastal sector, could be the cruise line tourism, could be even the sustainability of the fishery communities as well.
Yes. So talking about impacts, there come our next segment, Dr. Stallone. Could you describe the specific benefits that the PSP program brings to the IOC and the member states?
Well, when the port security program was conceived, it was conceived in a way that structuring in 3 different macro area, what we normally call result area, there was a mechanism, a coordinated mechanism which would have reinforced the capacities of the countries, and to be ready, but also to anticipate potential threats to the maritime domain. The port security program for Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, and Indian Ocean region, which has a geographical scope which goes from Somalia all the way down to the Cape Town, South Africa, including the 4 Indian Ocean islands, and goes up to Namibia and Angola, is basically targeting specific administration at governmental level. And to implement, to address this area, there are 3 areas. The first area relates to the reinforcement of the capacities of staff working in maritime and port administrations. Then there is the second area, which is addressing the national legislation. And then there is another area which is addressing a mechanism how data are being shared amongst partners. Of course, by those, the peculiarity of these activities could not be given assigned by any private company, but just to institutional bodies. In fact, there are specialized and entitled agencies like the International Maritime Organization or United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime or the International Criminal Police Organization, which are working in a very synchronized way under the aegis and under the coordinating role and monitoring role of the Indian Ocean Commission.
So I will take over here from while you mentioned about the UN agencies. So can you provide examples of how the program facilitates collaboration between IMO, Interpol, UNODC, and in order to enhance information sharing in ports? So how are they coordinating in order to get to that result area?
It's a very good question, because the 3 institutions, the implementing partners, they develop activities which were already approved by the donor, who is the European Union, when they submitted their plan. Basically, just to give you an example, a basic example and also to shed some light to our viewers, the IMO, when IMO is conducting a legal assessment, yes, it's conducting an assessment to the compliance of the national legislation, which are transposing, which are capturing the rules of the International Maritime and Labour Conventions. The same national law is being assessed as well by UNODC. But then it is not a duplication of efforts, because UNODC is assessing the criminal part of it, assessing whether for any infringement the sanction is adequate or not. Meanwhile, the Interpol, whenever there is there are certain activities which take place, unfortunately, because we know that at sea there are activities which are carried out in a legal and illegal way, then Interpol jumps in and they train staff on how to inspect a vessel, to do roamage, based also on the intelligence which they receive, how to ensure that the proper area, which is the crime scene, is properly observed and cordoned, then how the collection of the evidence takes place, so that a file case can be handed over for prosecution, and then how the prosecutor will ensure that the file case is properly prepared and can be taken to justice in court, so that the case will not be dismissed.
That's really very interesting. Now, coming to the cooperation part, you know, this program is a regional program, and it is a key component being a regional program. Can you elaborate on the importance of regional collaboration as it involves numerous countries in ensuring maritime security? Are they playing their role as it should be?
Absolutely, yes, and this is something which I strongly requested some time back, and I'm always stressing so that the three implementing partners address this issue, because my personal experience being in the region for more than 15 years has shown that at national level administration are not so inclined in sharing, in talking, in cooperating. There is this working in silo methodology which needs to be changed. There is a need to shift this mindset. And for this reason, we periodically, me as a regional coordinator, I always ask the implementing partner to plan joint event like an event which was recently conducted in Zanzibar, in Tanzania, whereby from the 9 beneficiary countries, a team of officials, namely the port facility security officer, an investigator and a prosecutor, could come, could join and play a scenario which was planned in advance. But that was an excellent opportunity to highlight and to prove that there is a need for more type of these activities at national level and then at regional level.
Okay, so when we are talking about supporting each other, now you have one result area which focuses on information and data exchange system for maritime traffic and passenger information. Where are we concerning this result area?
This activity falls under Result 3 Outcome 1 of the Port Security Program, and it is an activity that the Indian Ocean Commission is entitled to implement and will implement very soon. We were talking about, you mentioned about the data sharing. It's important that countries at national level improve this information exchange mechanism, regardless of the system in place or the communication platform they use, because it has been already assessed. It has been assessed, for instance, in Mauritius in 2022, that this process of information is so fragmented, especially during a navigation process. If you consider that normally when a vessel is calling the port, any port, I mean, I can quote the port of Mauritius because I was there, and this is what came out from this assessment. There is a need to present between 20 to 30 different forms and format. So for the master of a vessel, it's really a burden, it's an headache, because you have to liaise and deal with different governmental authorities to get a space in the port, to get the authorization to clear the goods, to ensure that the vessel is amongst the passengers and the crew. There are no, I would say, elements on the watch list of Interpol, and everything can go smoothly. So, and by implementing this activity, the countries will also become more, I would say, more structured to protect their national maritime territories. This is what it has been requested by the EU. This is what the IMO has been requesting to the countries, and this is where the Port Security Program is contributing to the regional maritime security architecture, which has been developed in the Indian Ocean region under the purview of the EU-funded program MASE, Maritime Security.
Okay, so we'll speak on the information sharing element, and I will request some more information from you. So what concrete steps are being taken to improve information sharing among various authorities within the IOC member states? Like you mentioned, there are different departments and they are working silently in their corners. So what concrete steps are being taken to get them work together?
First of all, by raising awareness, organizing workshops, by bringing people around the table. And this is where the purpose, one of the main objectives of the National Consultation Workshop is coming in. And we have already, based on the request from the countries themselves. It was not our initiative or my initiative of the IOC. No, it was something which was agreed, proposed and agreed during the second steering committee meeting of the port security program, that there should be more information about it, so that the program, and with regards to the information and data sharing, would address this issue. See, this is a program quite complex and challenging, because it entails the collaboration, coordination and cooperation of all the authorities at governmental level. So there are cross-sectoral elements and domain which need the cooperation of each and everybody. And the proposal which the IOC will put on the table when, because of course it will be subject to an international tender as per the EU administrative rules, would be also to ensure that there is accountability and visibility, because we know for we need to take into consideration certain bad practice in use in many countries of Africa. I will not mention for diplomatic reason, but you know that to get things done quicker, you just need to, I would say, to put some grease on the axe, so it will the wheel will move further. Nonetheless, with this system, there will be more visibility, accountability, and transparency as well, because then you will see which authority, which agency is delaying the process for a vessel to enter or to exit from the port.
That's very interesting. So now on the next step, so when we talk about, different data sharing, there are also fragmented areas. So is PSP doing enough to manage to address the fragmented data sharing landscape, at national or at the regional level?
Yes, because it is, as I said before, if you consider that there is not a uniform system or a centralized system where a vessel calling a port can just upload all the necessary information as per international maritime conventions. Yes. I'm just referring to the FAL forms. This process need to be uniform, need to be digitalized, and need to be centralized. So far, this system is not in place. We normally, I'm always referring to the experience which I gained when still working in Italy with the Italian Coast Guard, and following the rules of the EU directive, in particular Directive 2009/65, yes, which was requesting the member states to have a single point of contact, a single platform in the country, whereby this platform could liaise and could provide through the interoperability with the custom for the clearance of goods, the trade facilitation, with the police for the clearance on passport, on passengers and crew, and with other relevant authorities. The Ministry of Environment, for instance, for the discharge or not of dangerous goods, because vessels carry on board any type of goods. We know tankers, we also have tankers, vessels who are carrying nuclear material, radioactive material. So what if a country, a port, is not equipped to manage this kind of dangerous goods?
Will they be willing to work together?
Well, first of all, it will depend on the political will. Okay. But I think nowadays, since these mechanisms are becoming more and more compulsory for a country, because countries, as I said, they are part of a bigger forum like the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, and as per 1st of January 2024, you like it or not, countries will have to comply with it. So I am sure that the countries will follow this path.
Well, when we talk about PSP, we know that Mauritius is a reference in terms of maritime security and so on. How do you plan to expand and replicate the successful strategies to other territories?
Well, Mauritius, it is true that is quite organized. Nonetheless, Mauritius should take the lead in certain area, because just to give you an example, the Mauritius has a national maritime security strategy which is approved, and Mauritius has well understood the importance of having in place a maritime security governance. So a maritime security committee or a port security committee, whereby all the issues, including threats and mitigation measures, could be dealt with. And on the top of that, Mauritius knows also the importance of establishing a national information sharing and coordination center, whereby all the relevant authorities can participate, and with their national system, their pieces of information, they can create, I would say, they can provide the right piece of information to the decision maker at the right time. But so far, it has not been implemented yet. I know that this is something which is being dealt at the national level. Of course, there are also some security implications, but we are talking about the importance of ensuring the control, the capacity of monitoring the maritime territories, because in your maritime territories there are activities which are legal but also illegal. Think about the illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. Think about the drug trafficking, the human trafficking, or the traffic of human organs, which is becoming more and more present here.
Well, now I want you to give me some insight into the expected impact of simplifying cross-border trade and making the supply chain more efficient in the region. Because as you know, trade brings foreign currency. So how your insightful measures can help these beneficiary countries in the region?
By facilitating this national system, I would say, this is, although the port security program is not addressing the trade facilitation, because it is not within our scope, but the information you need to facilitate the trade are basically the same, because you are referring to a vessel, you are referring to the goods on board, commercial vessels, of course. You are also referring to what kind of documents and papers or forms are required, which are decided by the International Maritime Conventions. It's not something that a country may decide. So it's PSP, with the development of the vessel traffic management and information system, will try to facilitate this process, because trade, as you correctly pointed out, brings currency, but also trade brings goods. And from a ship owner's perspective, if my vessel has to wait for 1 week before getting the clearance into the port, and me, being as a ship owner, I would just divert my traffic somewhere else, and then it will be a loss in the revenue of the country.
Definitely, rightly mentioned. We all know that, PSP is in the second year. You have completed a second year in operation. So when we talk about future objectives in terms of enhancing maritime security and cooperation in the region, where are we situated?
Well, there is still a lot to do, to be honest with you. But if I look back when I joined the role of a regional coordinator, was exactly in September 2021, I can tell you that there is progress have been made. There is a level of ownership already, which is shown by the countries. The fact that the countries are committed, the countries through the designation of the national focal point are asking more and more training, regardless of the implementing partners, and the figures are there to show that I mean the situation is improving, it's a positive sign. One of my tasks as a regional coordinator is also to conduct monitoring and evaluation.
Yes.
So through a monitoring tool, I always keep an eye on the logical framework matrix, because knowing exactly where a country is, what is normally known as the baseline, knowing how to measure the progress, and knowing also what is the target that the country has declared to achieve, it's already a step forward. And it's important, of course, we know that for the remaining time of the lifetime of the PSP, we will not be able to do what is expected as per international standards. Quote an example, for instance, when a country who is supposed to conduct at least 10% of the inspection of the vessels which are calling a port, the port state control inspection regime, we have not reached yet this goal. But for instance, removing a country from a blacklist because they have improved their maritime administration, they have improved by addressing, by transposing and enforcing national legislation, is already a good achievement.
Well, there is progress, we can sense. So how do you foresee, as the regional coordinator, and how PSP is evolving to address emerging maritime security challenges? For
sure, no country, even the best organized and advanced country, can do it alone. The need for regional cooperation is there, and not only regional. I mean, we also know the importance of international cooperation. Think about the threats which are on our maritime domain. It's important that the regional cooperation is always put on the table, is on the political agenda of the countries, and there are always opportunities to improve and enhance this regional cooperation. And the example and the mechanism that the IOC, thanks to the EU funds for the MASE program, is implemented, goes in that direction. But it has to be, it's something, and the progress is already there, that these regional initiatives are also brought into a wider forum, like the forum, for instance, the Djibouti Code of Conduct and the Jeddah Amendment, which is basically targeting maritime security challenges.
Well, Michele, when we talk about, the role being played by IMO, UNODC and Interpol, are you satisfied with their involvement and performance until now? Or they can do more?
Of course, there is always room for improvement. I can tell you that now there is an excellent working cooperation and coordination amongst the three implementing partners, something which was not there when I joined the program. Because
it's not easy to manage these three.
It's not easy at all. Also because there are certain activities which can easily interfere in the domain of the others. We know very well that the investigation process is under the Interpol. The management of the crime scene investigation is the Interpol. The interception of abnormal behavior is Interpol. The inspection on board is Interpol. Nonetheless, since UNODC normally recruits consultants, experts who are former policemen, by default they tend to behave as if they were still police officers. But this has been clarified through periodic and scheduled coordination meeting, which I always request, and I have, and I can tell you that the cooperation is absolutely excellent.
Dr. Stallone, you have been speaking about UNODC, IMO, Interpol in helping PSP in the region. Do these partners have any particular regional agenda? Or is there any primary interest centered around data acquisition? You know what I mean. There are many gossips. People are speaking around. We are island states. Can we trust them?
Yes, by all means, because these three institutions, they work in the interest of the countries, to which Mauritius is one of the party. Well, UNODC, they are targeting especially the illegal traffic, drugs and whatever. I think that data is important because behind the data you can also understand what might be the economic interest of a country. But of course, there are certain conditions of use, there is a certain confidentiality, which is always there, because it is part of the professional code of the institutions. Why data is important for Interpol? Because, for instance, when a vessel is calling a port, if Interpol knows in advance and that there is, well, it's not Interpol. Interpol avails the mechanism, the database of data, whereby the police officer, namely the person from Passport and Immigration from Mauritius, can just type the list and find out that one of those passengers on board or one of the crew members is on the watch list of Interpol. You can imagine what will be, I would say, the next actions. So it's prevent is better than cure. I don't think that there should be any threat in sharing data. I am also because, just to give a quick example, data related to the position of a vessel, those are commercial data. You will find also on open sources. There are specific websites who provide for free certain number of vessels online. It's much more a cultural background, which a cultural, let's say, habit which needs to be shifted. Because I can quote you that, for instance, in other countries, in Middle East, for instance, the AIS data are considered, AIS are the data related to the position of the vessel. So nothing more than that. The name of the vessel, the IMO number, what kind of vessel it is, are considered confidential. So it's, as you can see, meanwhile, those are data which are meant to enhance the safety of navigation, because this is where they were conceived. So I feel very confident that the three institutions, they work in the interest of the countries, PSP countries, but also of the other countries which are, their beneficiary.
Thank you so much. My dear viewers, if ever you have any question for my invitee, for the guests or myself, feel free to email me and we shall pass on your question. Thank you for your time and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you to you.
Thank you.